Hey there, sports fans. Welcome back. It's another episode of Dinner with the Captain. I'm John Dinner, and I'm here with Captain Steve Priolo, captain of your National Lacrosse League Buffalo Bandits. How you doing today, Cap?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Probably could be better, but like we were alluding to, walking over a beautiful sunny day. The temperatures are just starting to creep above zero. You guys are doing maple syrup and all sorts of good things.
Yeah, spring is in the air, right? We're getting through this weather up here. It's no longer minus 30 every day. So, the sunshine's getting out and it makes everything a little bit easier.
For sure, and I'm wearing my Huntsville Hawks today. It's the March break episode, but with hockey wrapping up here, and again, the sun's shining a little brighter, attention is starting to turn to lacrosse, and there's been lots of lacrosse emails going back and forth, and so getting excited for that. But we're here to talk lacrosse, leadership, and life, and I think we're going to be able to hit on all three here this week because some big things happen, and it starts with you guys hosting Calgary, and they get the in their minds, big victory.
Yeah, they're a good team, man, and like we were talking about earlier, it was the that trade, shoring up their goaltender with Rosie is, that's a good move. That's a big move for them, right? That's the sort of the piece that was missing, and their game against Colorado where they lost, you can see they're a little uncomfortable, and this game they're a little more comfortable with him in net, and they're starting to find their stride. So they got a good offense. They're a good all around team. At the same time, I feel like we didn't necessarily play our best, and looking at the video, it's sort of there's easy adjustments we can make that I think will make a big difference in the game coming up this weekend.
But I mean, we've talked about it, right? Like it's sort of there's just sometimes you have to kind of tip your hat to, especially an offensive player that does something well, like Curtis Dixon. Is there some hat tipping going on after watching those videos, or do you still feel like there was some things you could have shut down?
Yeah,
he scored that one.
Those are the hat tip goals, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the ones like, oh man, how do you sort of create something out of nothing, right? And he had one at like the end of the half where we kind of got extended, and he had like, what do you have, six on the. He had maybe 6 goals or whatever.
I think 5, but a
yeah,
couple of them were stingers, right? That kind of look like they're going to be kind of maybe a bouncer, and they just kind of sort of stayed flat, right? And kind of right at Vino's hip, and
and he makes that happen. The ones that can't happen are the ones that are like where we leave a guy open or a guy slips or we mess up with numbers. Sort of come especially in the second and fourth, where in our building they're coming off the bench like that. It's a close change for them, so they can do a lot of things like high seals coming down, and then if they do a couple times where they're coming down, they're hitting you hard on those seals, and then the one they slip, those are the ones we can't give up because it's Tanner Cook going down the middle of the floor. That's not a good look for us. But those are easy adjustments. Like that's not a breakdown of systems. That's a breakdown of just playing well, and we just didn't play well.
Sure. And then on the other side of it, I mean, 11 goals a couple of weeks ago would have gotten you the victory, and it obviously doesn't this week. But is the offense feeling frustrated? Again, seeing a guy like Rosie for a third time, and you talked about it. Maybe it's an advantage goalie. Did they say anything or feel anything that might have been given Calgary the advantage this week? There
might have been some feelings of that, but with the trade deadline and all the good things that are sort of happening, and there wasn't any frustration. We had practice last night, and it's like the mood is great. Like everybody's still on board. Like we're in a good spot still, right? You got to stick together through these losses, and the biggest thing we can do with this loss is learn from it. And I was a little disappointed that had to happen at home, but at the same time, we were saying we were like, man, if we win that game, like if let's say we put up 17 and they put up 11, like we're sold out the rest of the year, right? But I don't know. It's there's a lot of good things that can come from this, and a lot of it from body positioning, man. So like on defense, their offense is they love to set big picks, right? Like again, what is a moving pick in the NLL? I do not know. If someone can tell me, please tell me. But like it's always,
you can't ask during the game though.
Well, yeah, you definitely can't. We don't.
I'm not going to get you going here, Cap. But their style of offense.
Yeah, their style of offense. They do set big picks, right? And it's it's supposed to be equal pressure, and when it's not, that's the adjustment we have to make, right? I'm not saying, I'm not complaining about moving picture or anything. I'm just saying we have to make adjustments, and one of the adjustments we have to make is making our body position known. And what I mean by that is we're very vocal on defense. We're calling picks, right? You call it, shoot or open or whatever. But there is a delay between somebody making a call and then somebody making the switch, and we have to have confidence in our switches. And the first thing we can do with that is using like talking with your body, making it physically available to everybody that they know that you're going to switch, right? So if we can have our body positioning a little bit better, where we're confident in our, we trust each other that we're going to switch and make those opens, and I think that'll go a long way, Saturday against these guys.
Now, and it did have something to do, again, you lost kind of 2 regulars. And so you've got 2 other guys in there. We're not going to throw shade on guys because they're coming in, but is that part of it? Like that body communication, now that sort of unspoken stuff is just maybe, again, that sort of half second, that's just the difference between someone being wide open in front of the net and someone not.
And that's the difference. You have to, chemistry is a lot, right? And a lot of that chemistry comes through body language, and body language is as important as vocal language. And so yes and no. That's the younger guys coming in. It's they're playing really great. At the same time, getting on the same page is tough, right? But
and it's those moments, right? It's just those moments where you've been with Spanger for a lot of your career, right? Yeah. And now it's, I don't know, it's Sammy LaRue or somebody else. That's exactly. Just, again, it's just and it's split second stuff, right? Yeah. Like, and then again, you're at the level of split second is the difference between win or loss,
it's
right?
the difference between a shot down the guy getting over top or a shot down the lane, right? And again, we like those shots down the lane, but they were getting over the top on us, right? And I don't think we had confidence in our switches. As we would switch, it was we were almost hesitant to go out because we were so worried about them getting over the top on us. And so when we would switch, we would almost sit back a little bit, and they were sort of shooting that gap or coming down the lane. And I don't know, 17 goals, man. It's hard to remember them all, but it was a tight game most of the way, and a couple penalties down the stretch in the 4-minute mark in the fourth, and some questionable calls.
And that's what I was going to go to next, right? Because 17-11. I mean, I don't know if we said it off the top of this one, but like first time since the first game of last season that you've given up that many goals, and I think even before that, then it was 15. Like you haven't given up 16. But it doesn't that doesn't tell the story of basically 3 quarters and whatever, 3 quarters, right?
Yeah,
3 quarters.
They piled them on in the last 5 minutes, right?
So how much is that? I mean, I know there's some frustration with the calls and whatever, and we know that like getting penalties is I mean, power play is a big thing in the NLL. What can be taken from that in those last 4 minutes where they scored 4 goals in the last 4 minutes and that sort of put it away? What can be taken from that is the lessons learned, just like keep composure, or I mean, it's easy to say not go into the box, but how do you take something from those last few minutes to be able to say, okay, either lesson learned or something to watch for in the future?
Yeah, it's the illegal cross-checking calls are I guess we could just sort of not cross-check as much, like sort of those late cross-checks that you're maybe getting away with all game is come the last 5 minutes, really dial that back, because if you take a penalty with 4 minutes left, it's that's half the time that you have to make a comeback. We were down like 2 or whatever. But the Dane one where he's getting across the crease, right? It's like it's tough. Honestly, I'll argue that one till the day I die, where it's like, man, the guy's on his back, pushes him, he still tries to evade him. Rosie steps out and hits him, and we get a 2-minute penalty, and that one hurts. But it's
so when you say you'll argue it till the day that you die, is that part of what's happening now at the end? Is that frustration is now starting to sort of take over, and it's, I mean, for lack of a better term, gotten you guys off your game?
Well, it didn't get us off our game. It's like when I take all those penalty minutes, that's at the last 5 seconds of the game, right? Because it's just you're frustrated, and you just keep getting penalties for stuff you don't understand. But I'm not like blaming the refs we lost or anything. Nope. Like I'm just saying that, like, okay, so on some level, we're getting referees that are trying to make the game like hockey referees, where it's like, there's only a couple penalties a game, and the penalty happens and you go to the box, right? Other than that, the refs don't have a ton of influence on the game, whereas our game is a lot like basketball, where the referees have a ton of impact on the game. So there needs to be constant dialogue between the refs and the captains. If you're not getting this dialogue, then how are we supposed to know what's sort of legal and not legal? Because everything's subjective. What are we looking for? What are we trying to dial in? And we want to make it so the last 5 minutes of the game, there are no penalties, and you're just letting us play, and we're all playing within the rules that the referees have sort of decided are the rules for that game. Like the how much pressure is equal pressure, right? What's a moving pick? Like, how are we getting across the crease? All these, these illegal cross checks, right? So the whole game needs to be that dialogue back and forth. And if it's not, then you end up in what we had on Saturday. And that's just not good.
And that's what we've talked about, right? When we talk about leadership, right? Like, I mean, ultimately the referees are supposed to be the ones that are setting the bar, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be the ones that are setting the example. And I think a big part of setting an example as a leader is communicating, right? And the way that you can communicate, solves some of the problems, but it can also get you into some hot water towards the end as well.
I have this theory that I want to take all the letters off of us. Take the captains off and the assistants off our jerseys. And
if they're not allowed to talk,
then why even have those letters, right? And so I said that at practice yesterday. And then I also said, like, well, you know what? You know who would care? Nobody. Nobody would even notice. It's like, you can't make a statement if nobody even notices.
Yeah. Well, certainly in the run of the game, right? It's hard to see who the C's and the A's are and stuff like that. Yeah. But again, right? If you don't like the purpose. Like going back to hockey and lacrosse, and why you wore the C was because that was who was to talk to the referees, like that you are the voice of whatever reason, or you're going to get the explanation and take it back to the coach to try to sort of take the temperature down and stuff like that. But the temperature is going to go up naturally when you're not being talked to, right? And we know that as teachers, and it's not always easy to be communicating, but I think it's also on everybody in a situation like that to be like have a little bit of a thicker skin in the moment to be able to communicate.
This may be the last thing I say on it is that they don't even need a thicker skin. We're not saying anything that they're doing wrong. It's literally trying to get a flow for the game, right? Where it's like, hey, I feel like they're doing moving picks. Like, are we going to call this or are we not? Because then if they're getting away with this, maybe we'll do a little bit more on our end. Or,
right.
You know what I mean? It's just it's literally like, hey, they're kind of hitting Dahoka. Like they're holding Dahoka every single time. So like, is this something you watch for? Is it not? Like, it's not. But I guess in some way that's questioning their ability to referee. But it's, I felt like I feel like Calgary sets moving picks every time, right? In compared to other teams that necessarily don't get away with it. But that's how Calgary plays every shift. So you're not going to call a moving pick every single time. So when we play Calgary, it's a little bit more loosey goose with that because at some level you still want a flow of the game, right? So there's adjustments. Like, we're going to have to make adjustments on D, and it's not going to be like, hey, referees call this. It's going to be, we have to make adjustments to our body position. But at the same time, it would be nice to get a couple of those calls.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, in the end, it is another loss in the loss column. You guys now sit at 9-2, but still in first place, except if you looked at the NLL power rankings.
Oh yeah, we dropped.
Is that something that, do you guys chat about that stuff? I mean, obviously power rankings are for media people to give us something to talk about, fans something to talk about. Do players talk about it?
No, we don't talk about it, but everybody notices it, right? Like, on some level, I actually don't even understand how the power rankings work. Same with like,
I think it's supposed to be a week-to-week reflection.
It's a week-to-week reflection, but there's an algorithm that sort of comes in, and that's the same thing they do with the they do it with like the Lax Meg does like the top, fit 10 players or whatever,
sure.
But it's not like the top 10 players in the league. It's like the top 10 players based on like a weird sort of algorithm of stats and different things. So it's like, you take everything with a grain of salt, but at the same time, you want to sort of still be at the top of that. And it lets you know that, hey, we're faltering right now, and the league's sort of noticing, and we need to get back on track, right? For me, it's a lot of motivation. If I've had a mental sort of change where it's like, man, like, here we go. This is grind on. Like, are you stretching enough? Are you eating right? Are you, like, start analyzing your week to week stuff? Like, obviously you're faltering in some way. So where are you missing outside of lacrosse? What are you doing that's not up to par that you were doing last year or the year before? But I don't know, man. Like, the mood was good last night. 2 new additions.
Well, and so that's sort of where we go to next, right? Like, so you come off the loss, and I don't think the trades were a result of the loss, but it probably put maybe a little bit of urgency in the front office to get it done. I mean, obviously the trade deadline does that as well, but I'm imagining these weren't things that just decided on Saturday night that they're okay, we got to get this done, and they spent Sunday and Monday trying to do these. These were things that were in the works, and so we're welcoming 2 new players to Bandit Land. I'm not going to get Kyle's last name.
Matisse.
Matisse. It pronounces much easier than it reads.
Yeah, it has like SZ at the end.
And then a much easier one, Ron John.
Ron John.
Yeah. And so, I mean, as captain, how do you welcome 2 new guys into the squad?
Well, I've known Moose, Kyle Matisse. I've known him for, 20 years. So it's I remember playing against him in Burlington. So it's him. For him, it's just a warm welcome. How you doing? And then it's an introduction, man. It's like to Ron John. It's like, hey, I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. Great battling against you. Super stoked you're here. This is our defense. This is our calls. This is our stuff. Let's get right into it because there's no time. Like, let's keep going here.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't met him really. Super, super nice guy, but he is like athletic and gritty, and like one practice with him, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the lefty that is gonna like fill that sort of, we're short lefties, right? A couple guys going down, so it's like I think Ron John's really gonna fill that role nicely, and it puts pressure on the young guys, man. You want to, Dooley and these guys, it's like
they want it in, and now they're back on the practice.
You give them
roster.
the pat on the back, and because I was up and down from the practice squad when my first year too, right? So it's like, give them the pat on the back, say you're playing great, keep going, keep the pressure on these guys, because that pressure sort of is going to make everybody better, right? And we got a pretty deep defense now, which I couldn't say a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and now we do, and that's I'm really excited for these guys. And Matisse brings like the same sort of thing that Paulie sort of brought last year, right? He brings a calm presence of like, yeah, I know the calls. This is what we do. Yep. And he just knows everything. He can play both sides of the floor. He's like 6'6", like he's a giant, right? When you look at our righties now, it's like me, Paulie, Kyle, and Weiser. And Weiser's like 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's the small guy.
Yeah, he's the fast guy, right? Like he's the one that's out there leading. And so, and I expect that sort of is that where Ron John's going to also then sort of fill in, is kind of being the guy that's going to push the ball? Yeah,
he's given me sort of like Ian McKay vibes with like maybe not as good of stick skills as Ian, but they're still there, and maybe a little more grit, maybe a little more like Bryce Sweeting, sort of like Cam Wires, like grit. Like he's he cross checks hard, and he's athletic. He's built strong, so it's I have high hopes for him. Yeah, and
maybe putting Mickey, giving him a little bit more chance to go out the front door.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Now it's putting pressure on the lefties, being like Clay Scanlon's also playing really great, right? So it's how the pieces come together, I'm not totally sure yet, but we have the pieces. They're there, right?
And so that's exciting. And then the other side of it that's also nice is like your previous only other loss of the season, you get to face them again right away. Mm-hmm. Is that talked about? Like, is that feel like a really good thing to like, or it doesn't really matter? We lost, and now that's in the past, and now let's play again.
No, it matters. It matters because it's you're preparing for the same team, right? So it helps you a lot with those, and your thinking stays linear. And everybody's pissed off. We want to go in there, and you want to light up Rosie. You want to carry things over from, oh yeah, I got greased that time. It's like now it's like payback's right there, right? But I don't know if it was 3 weeks away or 4 weeks away. I think this feeling would still be there, where it's like, hey, these guys beat us last. Let's like take it to them, and you don't want to drop 2 to a team because then you get that tiebreaker against you, right? So it's like that's I don't know. I think guys are really excited.
And so you said practice yesterday, I mean, felt good and everybody was in a good space. How much do you attribute that to new energy, or is it just that's Bandit culture right now?
It's honestly, it's Bandit culture, but it's new energy. Yep. It's just, I don't know, man, on some level, just lacrosse is fun, and you get new players there, and it's like, it's almost just like you're refreshed, and you get to go through everything again. It's like you're starting like a new season, being like, hey, this is our team. Like, this is, I don't know. And there's something nice about this is your squad going forward. There's no one else is getting traded. There's no other moves. This is it. Like, so yeah, it was just, good energy, good.
Well, and so it was nice because we didn't talk about this before, but it is now for much of Ontario, like the start of the lacrosse season, and you're going to be welcoming in new guys and guys that you haven't seen before, or guys that you maybe played with a year ago that because of the age groups, you don't play with them again for another year. What's your advice to the young guys out there, young girls and guys, the young athletes out there that are welcoming new faces to their team? Like how can you quickly get them into whatever the culture might be of that team, but you want it to be a positive thing?
Yeah, I think I think introductions are important, right? It's like you're in a tight space with each other, right, in these locker rooms, and it's important to hey, I'm Steve, I'm Ron. It's like those meetings are really important, because then it's like, okay, we're on the same team, and now we can get on the same page. It's if you go in and there's like avoidance of any sort of like, hey, I'm going to put my bag down first, I'm going to go over here, I got other things to do, then it's like it creates a distance, and you don't want that. You want that like togetherness. So when you get a new kid on your room, like in your room, go to him, go say hi, hey, I'm whatever, like, how you doing? And this is the things I like, and this is how things go here. Like, be welcoming, because it's important to be on the same page.
It can be hard as a young guy or a girl athlete to do that sometimes, because you sometimes feel like, oh, they don't want to know me, or like,
yeah.
But always, as we both know, right, being the new person in the room is a lot harder than being the person that's been around.
Exactly.
Right, and so I think any opportunity to welcome people into is a good one. So does a road trip help bring guys into the group? Or would it have been nicer for them to maybe have been at home and like they've got a lot of life stuff to deal with the trade and everything else, and then it's like, oh, and now we're also headed to Calgary that I wasn't expecting?
I don't know. It's I guess to be determined, but I feel like it does, especially without a practice. The day, like practicing on Wednesday is nice, because now when we fly out on the Friday, we can go out to dinner and we can go do all those things that give you a chance to really sort of hang out and meet each other. So that for me is the biggest like bonding thing. Is I love going to dinner with guys. I like going out and getting a good nice steak that you wouldn't go get a meal that you wouldn't normally buy when you're at home, right? Like, go treat yourself, because it's limited time we get to do this sort of thing, right? So go on when you're on those road trips, make sure you're going out to dinner, make sure you're going out and treating yourself a little bit, and then treat it as a business trip, right? And I don't know, I'm excited. You're traveling together, you're spending a lot of time together on these road trips. You spend more time together on the road trips than you do on the home games. So yeah, I would say at the end it's a net sort of positive when you have new guys to get right into a road game.
Yeah, so practice Wednesday, flying out Friday. Says, is it a team dinner? Is this like an expectation of the guys?
No, but someone will reserve it, a spot, and not everybody goes, but everybody's sort of encouraged to sort of go.
Sure. And then is anybody flying, now that there's not a practice Friday, is anybody flying out Saturday morning because of life stuff? No, everybody's
everyone will be
yeah. And then Saturday, what's game day Saturday look like? Get up, do some video and some stretching, and
yeah, we'll have video Saturday morning, and then we'll have shoot around, and then we have like a lunch, and then we'll just sort of chill in the hotel room, and then go to the game. It's basic. It's normal business as usual.
And craziness. So, can we expect to see anything other than obviously two new guys? Anything different from say last weekend's game to this weekend's game that would be like to keep an eye on?
I don't know.
Still to be determined.
Yeah, it's like there's like little micro adjustments we'll make. I'm interested in the lineup. I don't know who's flying. I don't know. It's like you think that you know what's going on, right? I had no idea about these trades.
Right.
The only one I called was the sort of Del Bianco one. I'm glad he was sort of found his way home. A lot cheaper price than originally they were asking for us, but they still gave up a lot for him. And yeah, it's going to be, I guess Calgary has a new D guy.
Yep.
So I guess we'll have to analyze that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. It's going to be a good little road trip. Jackie and I are Jackie, my wife's flying out with me, and we're going to stay a couple days after, go to Banff and sort of do the touristy stuff out there, go up in the mountains, got a little cabin up in the mountains. We're going to go spend the night in and come back. You
guys just haven't had enough of the snow. It started melting here, so you're like, oh, we'll get a higher altitude.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was extra rested going into next week where we got back-to-backs.
Back-to-backs. So yeah, and then and that's, I guess, where we go from there, right? Like when we talk about life, it's been a busy time, as you said, and again, you had all of those bye weeks leading into the season and now it's like it's on, and you're coming out of a road trip where you then go into, like you said, a Friday, Saturday games. Are you guys already looking ahead to that kind of thing, or are you able to? Because again, Wednesday, likely have a practice Wednesday or Thursday next week, and you have 2 teams to prepare for. So have you sort of like hedged your bets and kind of like, well, we've already faced Calgary, kind of know what we're talking, so we can now look ahead a little bit? Or
No, you don't do that. But you do look for the life stuff is where it comes in, right? Because now you're trying to plan your life around, travel the week before into a short week into, a game at home, and then are you traveling overnight? Like there's like life things that you have to figure out with, your dog and your cars and where are you going to go, where are you going to park, what are you going to do? And it's important to get that out of the way early, because I think we're traveling. I think after we play our game in Buffalo on Friday, I think we're going overnight. So we practice Thursday, game Friday, travel through the night to Albany, and then we'll probably do a shoot around Saturday morning, game Saturday night, and we might travel home that night. And you're like, now you're rolling into St. Catharines at whatever time,
4 a.m.
and you're trying to like figure out what you're gonna do after that. So I don't know. It's busy, man. It's busier than people think. There's a lot of booting around and
well, and especially when, again, for so many people, this isn't their sole job, right? And I mean, life side aside from everything else, getting in at 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and it's like, okay, and like I'm gonna be getting up for work in 26 hours from now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so lots to consider. I just got a brain fart there. Sorry, everybody. I had a really good question to come in, and it completely escaped me. But so when you talk about this as a captain, and you already mentioned it, you don't have a lot of time to do things. You're going to a neat place like Calgary. We talked about it with San Diego. We had a little bit of a laugh about with Saskatoon. But you have these opportunities that are presented to kind of be around, and you don't have a lot of opportunities. So what do you say to sort of the young guys during this grind? How do you enjoy it, but also like keep it like you said, a business trip?
Well, by enjoying it is how it stays a business trip in my mind, right? It's like you have to love the adventure part of it. You have to love being in the airports. You have to love, going to new cities, like and there's a funness that comes to being able to travel to Calgary, Colorado, Vancouver, San Diego, Vegas. Like a lot of people don't get to do this stuff, right? So how can you take it? That's the thing too, right? I've played a lot of years, but that's not the deal with everybody. A lot of guys only play 5-6 years, right? So it's quick. I don't know. Just if you embrace.
Do you think that's part of the longevity of your career, is just how much you've enjoyed that aspect of the sport?
I don't know. I think I go crazy if I'm not staying in shape, and I think staying in shape is the hardest part as you get older, right? It's like, can you keep up with everybody? And for me, I've always joked about. I can't wait till lacrosse is done. I'm going to get in really good shape, right? And it's like this idea that you're beating up your body every weekend is makes you so sore, and it makes you, training a little bit harder and a little bit harder the sore you are. And, when lacrosse is done, hopefully the body's not getting that pounding anymore, and then I can go for those longer runs. I can swim across the lake. I can do all that stuff that I want to do.
You can cross country ski 14 kilometers uphill.
Yeah. I guess I'm doing that anyways.
All right, man. Well, it's a busy time, like you said. You're going to be getting on the road probably later this afternoon, and before you know it, you'll be in Calgary, and then even before you know it, you'll be high up in the mountains and enjoying some well-deserved respite before really getting into the grind, because it's the March to May. It's the Buffalo Bandits. It's Saturday night out in Calgary. They got the Roughnecks, Bandit Land. Tune in, and then sell the place out the following week, because these guys deserve the support, and when they have your support, anything's possible. So thanks, Cap. Travel safe, and good luck.
Thanks, dude.
All right.
Bye.